Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen. This is Mujeeb Kazi and you're watching Voice of Kashmir TV from the studio of Washington Roundtable. We would be having a candid conversation with one of the most senior activists who has been fighting for the freedom of Kashmir, for the cause of Kashmir. Uh, Probably the someone who has been in the struggle for the longest that I know of in the recent history. He has dedicated his entire life to present the case of Kashmir to the world and at the corridors of the powers around the world. Obviously, we have seen Kashmiris going from low points to high points. Kashmiris have seen their optimism going to a maximum level and then the lowest level. Obviously, the last 2 years or so that we see that the with the revocation of Article 370 and 35A, what we see that the situation in the Kashmir Valley has been intensified. The suffering have gone up, the oppression and suppression have gone up. So, and a lot of people are playing their role to apprise the world about the situation that is happening on the ground. Um, we are joined by a very accomplished man and who has, I can say, who has done the most for the cause of Kashmir, and obviously that doesn't come with the price that he has to pay. We'll dive into that discussion. Let me welcome Dr. Ghulam Nabi, who is currently General Secretary for the Kashmir Awareness Forum in Washington. Dr. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mujeeb. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so very much. I know you're busy and appreciate you giving us the time. Let me ask you with the very basic question for our audience. What is the doable solution for Kashmir?
First of all, let me tell you that Kashmir is a unique international issue. It is unique not because I am of a Kashmiri heritage. For that matter, you are also of Kashmiri heritage. But it is unique because, as you know, there are more than 100 existing international issues right now. But Kashmir is one of the very few international issues which has the international sanctity. And second important point is, which is not really unique with any other issue, right from very beginning, that is that the solution of Kashmir, what should be the solution of Kashmir? It was proposed to the United Nations by the parties themselves. It has never happened in any other international dispute that the solution has been proposed by the parties themselves. What should be the solution, as you ask? It was described, rather articulated, in the United Nations by the Indian delegate. Can you believe it? We are the weakest of all as the people of Kashmir. We are really the weakest people on the earth. But the international sanctity that really reflects the aspirations and the wishes of the people of Kashmir. Sir Gopalaswamy Iyengar, the Indian delegate to the United Nations, speaking on January 15, 1948. You know, Mujiba, you have been very active in the international politics. No ambassador can speak at the United Nations unless he has the clearance from the capital. When I say capital, I do not mean only the Foreign Office. He has to have the clearance from the Prime Minister's office. He has to have the clearance from the Security Department. And what did he say, Sir Gopalaswamy Iyengar? He said whether Kashmir remains in India or accedes to Pakistan or becomes independent and seeks the membership in the United Nations, that must be decided by the people of Kashmir. You mentioned Article 370, 35A. Since you are from other side of the ceasefire line, which is obviously the part of the body of Jammu and Kashmir, I am from Indian occupied Kashmir. And I will tell you honestly, when abrogation Article 370, 35A took place on August 5th, 2019, you know Farooq Siddiqui from Canada. He called me within 2 hours time. In fact, I did not know really it has happened. I really did not know. He told me this has happened. It was a long conversation, but what I'm saying, we really thought, जिसको उर्दू में कहते हैं कि हमारी तो माँ मर गई. This is the end of the story. Because Narendra Modi, his design was not to resolve the issue of Kashmir, but to dissolve it to the extent that nobody is going to ever talk about the issue of Kashmir. And if at all there is going to be any talk, it will be only between New Delhi and Islamabad. Mujeeb Qadi, I am not really trying to send the signal to the valley and the Indian occupied Kashmir. I am just trying to give them the facts. When this situation arose, it was none other than the United Nations Secretary General who said, no, not that fast. Kashmir has to be resolved under UN Charter and under applicable United Nations Security Council resolutions.
Dr. Saab, can I ask you?
No, let me tell you one more thing. I know time is short, but this is very relevant. This week on August 2nd, something very important happened at the United Nations. Because this month, the month of August, India being the member of Security Council is also the president of the Security Council. The very first day they have to give the agenda and the schedule of the whole month of the Security Council. And he said Kashmir is the internal matter, and he wanted to really give the message to the United Nations that this is the end of the story. Again, the next day, the same Secretary General said, no, Kashmir has to be resolved under United Nations Charter. So what I am saying, when people of Kashmir are giving the hard bullet, when they are giving the sacrifice with the fullest consciousness, they have to understand, yes, we are not getting the support which we have to get. But I have to yet to see a capital, including our own capital, United States of America, which has ever said that you do not have a cause. Even today, when I am talking to you, it is, I think, August 12th, 2021. Let me tell you, our government's policy, United States, is India and Pakistan have to resolve the issue of Kashmir after taking account the wishes and the will of the people of Kashmir. That is important.
Yeah, my question was that, I have seen you advocating implementation of UN resolution, even though the case itself was brought by the parties of Kashmir to the United Nations. We have seen the statement from the US departments coming stating that this is an issue between India and Pakistan and they need to sit down and resolve it. My question is this. We can propagate, we can make an argument that this is a case that international community, United Nations has to resolve. But on the other hand, India and Pakistan have gone into a bilateral agreement. When the two nations are up for a bilateral agreements, so that supersedes the international agreement. So how can we have two as both?
Absolutely false. This is exactly what the people of Kashmir need to understand. This similar agreement, Bhogi, we have accepted it. The people of Kashmir have accepted it.
Kashmir is a party to that?
Let me tell you, there are 3 articles of United Nations Charter. Article 34, Article 35. They say if there is a disagreement between the bilateral agreement and the international agreement, the commitment with the international agreement shall prevail. And secondly, ladies and gentlemen, in the sense because there are audience who are watching it, there are 2 articles of similar agreement. One article says the relationship between, this is similar agreement, the relationship between India and Pakistan shall be governed under the purposes and the principle of UN Charter. And another article of similar agreement is Kashmir remains one of the most outstanding issues to be resolved between India and Pakistan. So to say that similar agreement has superseded the UN resolution, this is absolutely false. This is absolutely misinformation and disinformation. No bilateral agreement, not only similar agreement. No bilateral agreement of any country can supersede the international agreement, which is the UN Security Council resolution. So
that brings me to the next question, that when India and Pakistan don't talk, oftentimes it happens that the relationship, the diplomacy, the ambassadorial conversation stops. And we have seen it happen in the last 2 years. Pakistan and India, we do hear that they have a backdoor channel there where they have a conversation going on. Do you think that Pakistan has pressed hard enough India to come to terms in terms of resolving this issue, in your opinion?
First of all, let me tell you, this is not my opinion today, but I have talked about it, and not only me, the Kashmiri diaspora, they have talked about it. But me personally, because I am responsible what I am going to say. I'm not really necessarily against the back channel diplomacy. I am not necessarily against the quiet diplomacy. But we have urged both India and Pakistan, when you are going to have the back channel diplomacy, why don't you invite a Kashmiri representative in that? Because mujeeb kazi, the whole world knows we had the Mandela of Kashmir. Whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether the people of Kashmir like it or not, his name was Sheikh Abdullah. And Sheikh Abdullah had 2 agreements with India. With the founding Prime Minister of India, Nehru, in 1952, and with his daughter Indira Gandhi, who was also the Prime Minister in 1975. That Sheikh Abdullah, he could not sell that agreement to the people of Kashmir. So that's why what I am saying, that India and Pakistan, they can have the back channel diplomacy. And let me also tell you, both India and Pakistan, they can impose a solution to the people of Kashmir. They can do it because they are the very important members of the Security Council, not Security Council, United Nations. But the question remains, are they going to sell it to the people of Kashmir? Let me tell you one thing. General Musharraf was not only the president of Pakistan. General Musharraf was the chief of the army staff of Pakistan, which is, he had the control of the civilian authority, he had the control of the army, and he had the 4-point formula. One single person, Sayyid Ali Gilani, this is in his book. In his book, he says, Sayyid Ali, I could not sell you to Sayyid Ali Gilani. And here I have Muhammad Yasin Malik on record. Muhammad Yasin Malik, he said here at the State Department, he said, you have all the authority to talk to India and Pakistan and impose a solution. But are you going to sell to the people of Kashmir? So that's what I am saying, that unless the people of Kashmir are fully cognizant of the situation, what is going on between India and Pakistan, you cannot have the settlement. You can have the settlement, but you cannot make the people of Kashmir to accept it.
So why do you think, Dr. Saab, why is it that the Kashmiris are not made part of the conversation, negotiation, agreements, talks, whenever it comes to an international forum? Why the Kashmiris are left out?
That exactly is the point. But the question is that very recently, by recently I mean at least within the past 2 to 3 years, there's a change in the understanding of Pakistan about the issue of Kashmir. Because not just Shah Mahmud Qureshi, when he was the head of the delegation during the Asif Zardari's cabinet, Asif Zardari could not make it to the United Nations, he was the head of the delegation. Both said in the United Nations, these are the words, whatever the people of Kashmir decide, we will accept it. Imran Khan came here, I think it was 2019. He gave a very important speech in a very important think tank in the Washington, D.C., which is United States Institute of Peace. The president of the United States Institute of Peace, she asked him exactly your question. She asked him, Prime Minister, what will be the acceptable solution to the Pakistan about Kashmir? Can you believe it? He said, whatever the people of Kashmir decide. So my formula is what Swaminathan Iyer has said, and Swaminathan Iyer is an Indian intellectual, and he said it in the Times of India, which is the second important newspaper of India. It could be even the first, number 1, or at least it's the number 2. Times of India, Swaminathan, and Indian. What did he say? Again, your question, what you ask me, what do the people of Kashmir want? Swaminathan Iyer wrote in the Times of India. Yani, Mujeeb bhai, when I am going to tell you exactly, I am going to tell you, you think this is Muhammad Yasin Malik speaking. No, it's not Muhammad Yasin Malik speaking. It is Swaminathan Iyer speaking. We have promised the people of Kashmir to have a referendum. Swaminathan Iyer, Times of India. Let us have one. Give the people of Kashmir three choices: India, Pakistan, and independence. Then he says, let the people of Kashmir decide, not the armies of India and Pakistan. Veer Sanghvi, who happened to be the editor of Hindustan Times, which to me is the number one newspaper of India. Veer Sanghvi. He said, if India believes in democracy, then giving the people of Kashmir a right to self-determination is the right thing to do. What I am saying is, when people of Kashmir are demanding the right to self-determination, we have the Indian intellectuals, diplomats, politicians who are really saying the same thing. But the only thing is, they think that the international eye is not watching. The world powers are silent. The United States are taking any action. So that's why they are not speaking out.
So I understand the speech of Imran Khan was received very well around the globe, and people of Kashmir was expecting that it would bring some outcome. But as we see with the passage of time, that started to fizzle out. The protests started to fizzle out. The world outside of Kashmir is probably kind of going okay with, because I have not seen uprise in the protest and the momentum that was built up after 2019. It went down. So are you satisfied the way Pakistan is handling, or the Pakistan is propagating, or Pakistan is taking the case for the Kashmirs to the international and the global stage in your, as a Kashmiri, in your point of view? Do you think that Pakistan is doing its job to the optimal potential?
Let me give you two important examples. One Pakistan, one you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Imran Khan sahab mentioned thrice, maybe more, but at least I remember thrice. He is the ambassador of the people of Kashmir. But I have yet to see an ambassador who never leaves his capital. So Imran Khan is not Prime Minister of Pakistan. Imran Khan is a magic. Whether you like, people know Imran Khan. So if he goes out just for the sake of Kashmir, I'm not telling every country, but choose 5 or 6 countries. It will make a difference. But what is the responsibility of Kashmiri diaspora? When you talk to the Kashmir, when I talk to someone in the valley of Kashmir, honest to God, you cannot just not to be sensitive to the situation. You tell me, as a Kashmiri diaspora, why do I really need to stick to my organization, World Kashmir Awareness Forum? What is this nonsense? I am not World Kashmir Awareness Forum. I am a Kashmiri diaspora. I think the Kashmiri diaspora, irrespective of their party affiliations, we have to really join our hands. You tell me, Muhammad Yasin Malik, who is my leader, he said in Lal Chowk, because his house is in Lal Chowk, although he did not say in Lal Chowk, he said Maisma Bara, which is 2 minutes walk from Lal Chowk, which is a historical place. He said, I stand for independent Kashmir. But if the people of Kashmir want to accede to India, I have no problem, but let be a referendum. Sayyid Ali Gilani said, I am the symbol of accession to Pakistan. But if people of Kashmir would like to go to India, I have no problem, but let us have a referendum. These two leaders have really given us the ultimate objective. And let us stick to our objective, which is the right to self-determination. As my very close friend, Professor Zafar Khan from London, he always tell me, Faisal, can you say unrestricted self-determination? I said, I 100% endorse your statement. Let us have unrestricted right to self-determination. Finally, let me tell you, we should not contribution of Muhammad Yasin Malik and Sayyid Ali Gilani. I have yet to see a momentum being generated by Kashmiri diaspora that Muhammad Yasin Malik became the leader in the Yasin Malik being institution. We have to
Dr. Saab, can you unmute your mic? I cannot hear you. Can you unmute your mic? You have muted your mic. Please unmute it.
I don't know when it was muted.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you were talking about, but let me pose. I think we are into the last 5-10 minutes of our conversation, and I want to get the maximum answers possible from someone of that esteemed level that you are in. My question would be, like India and Pakistan both are party to the conflict, and Kashmiris obviously wish and desire that they should be part of the conversation, and whatever the outcome would be at the end of the day, the Kashmiri should be part of it. But 370 was taken away by India by the semi-autonomous status as Kashmiri enjoyed, that was taken away. To counter that, our foundation on the other side in Pakistan was on a much better standing up until the Pakistan uh, has decided, or maybe going to decide, or maybe it's in the works that they're trying to make the provisional province of Gilgit-Baltistan as part of Pakistan. Don't you think that will put us on a weaker footage in terms of international community, where Pakistan were to plead the case for independence, or to have the referendum held for people of Kashmir?
I have written twice, not only written, it has been published in India and Pakistan, and including international media, that Gilgit-Baltistan is the part of state of Jammu and Kashmir. As we said, that India has no right under 2 resolutions of the United Nations. The last one was 122 of 1957, that you cannot change any part of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. If you can do it, it is going to be in violation of the United Nations Security Council resolutions. The people of Gilgit-Baltistan, they have all the right to demand whatever rights they are missing there. But Gilgit-Baltistan cannot be the part of Pakistan. If Pakistan would like Gilgit-Baltistan to be the part of Pakistan, then they have no legitimacy to call the Kashmir disputed territory. And more importantly, Shah Mahmud Qureshi, as the foreign minister of Pakistan, he cannot really face the international community to tell them that India is in violation of the Security Council resolutions. So what I am saying, that Gilgit-Baltistan cannot be the part of Pakistan, province of Pakistan. For that matter, as there is some talk going on, and I think there is no basis for that, that same may happen to the Azad Kashmir. But what I am saying, the sanctity of international community, as I told you, on issue of Kashmir is that the whole state of Jammu and Kashmir, when I say whole the state of Jammu and Kashmir, I say all the 5 zones of state of Jammu and Kashmir, they are the disputed territory. So any country, for that matter, India or Pakistan, if they really would like to change the status of either side, so that will be the violation of the Security Council resolutions. So I'm on the, not I as a foreign minister of Pakistan, has been a consent for us. So he issued a statement from Srinagar, and I'm sure had Muhammad Yassin Malik be out, he would have said the same thing, because Muhammad Yassin Malik, when Nawaz Sharif as the prime minister, his foreign minister, although he was in charge of Sartaj Aziz, they wanted to say the same thing. Yassin Malik wrote a letter to the prime minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, and Nawaz Sharif wrote back to him. I have the copies of both letters. No, there is no such a thing, and we cannot make Gilgit-Baltistan and the part of Pakistan. What I am saying, that our leadership have told Pakistan that Khabardar, don't ever try to make Gilgit-Baltistan part of Pakistan.
Lastly, you had mentioned that the Kashmiri diaspora is a very important component of this equation, and they need to work very hard. And unfortunately, every time we see there's a momentum going on, proceeding to maybe August 5th or any other major event, perhaps maybe the UN General Assembly session or whatever, something comes up to a point where the Kashmiris are maligned and blamed for. You have seen it. The recent report, Disinfo Lab, that has come out, and that has you've been the target of that. That that the Kashmir cause has been made as if it's an enterprise. It's being utilized to scam the money from the agencies and whatnot. What do you have to say on that in terms of this allegation that is out there? We don't know who is spreading it, but it's already out there and your name is on it. So how would you respond to that?
You see, the India really deserves to have a role at the international community. They really do. They really know how to use not the information, how to use the misinformation on to their advantage. We have the EU Disinfo Lab, which was reported by the neutral and impartial and international agencies what India has been doing for the last 30 years in Geneva, in Brussels, in different parts of the world. And you and I, we cannot really sell it to the international community. And it was reported by the neutral agencies. Now, India came up with on the basis of misinformation, they want to misinform the international community. And as you said very rightly, that this is in the books, this is in the print. So the only thing what I am telling you is that Kashmiri diaspora from Asia to Africa, from Europe to America, within the past 2 years, they have been very vibrant, they have been very active. But there is one missing link, and that is that you and I, we have not become one. And that's why what I am saying, we can become one. Why? Because if I am going to say that I am the leader as a Kashmiri diaspora, then that becomes a problem. If you and I will still go back to the origin, Muhammad Yasin Malik is our leader. Sayyid Ali Gilani is our leader. Mirwaz Umar Farooq is our leader. Shabir Ahmad Shah is our leader. Then we have no problem. Kashmiri diaspora can play a very important role, but they can only play a secondary role. And our Mandela is still in the Tihar jail. He is still in the Tihar jail. Whether it is Muhammad Yasin Malik or Shabir Ahmad Shah, for that matter, Asya Andrabi or Sayyid Ali Gilani, can you believe it, for the last 11 years? He has not been able to leave his home except when he was going for the medical checkup to Delhi. So that's what I am saying, that our responsibility, and let me tell you, I mentioned it earlier, but I want to repeat it. There is no need for Kashmiri diaspora to have World Kashmir Awareness Forum. There is no need for Kashmiri diaspora to have any organization. Let us have an alliance on one single point, and that is unrestricted right to self-determination. So that is your objective. That is my objective. That has to be everybody's objective. And as Yasin Malik said, if Kashmiris want to go to India, we have no problem. Sayyid Ali Gilani said the same thing. But it has to be decided by the people of Kashmir. Lastly, let me tell you, we must really make the people understand what Arunti Rai said on October 3rd, 2019. Very important. She said, people are asking me, what do the people of Kashmir want? She said on October 3rd, 2019, it is on the video, by the way. She said, I am telling you, the people of Kashmir have been saying it for the last 70 years. She said, the people of Kashmir have been saying it with their blood. She said, people of Kashmir want nothing but the right to self-determination. So that's why that should be your slogan. That should be my slogan. That should be the slogan of Kashmiri diaspora, irrespective of the political affiliations, party or.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. I would have to leave it right there. I would like to use the VOK as a platform for the voices for all the people of Kashmir without having to insert my own assertion. Thank you very much for being on the show, and I'll be delighted to have you back on the show one more time to discuss more and elaborate the issue of Kashmir and apprise the world about what's going on the ground. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Take good care of yourself until next time. Goodbye for now.
Thank you, Mujib Kabir. May Allah bless you. Thank you.